if I told you the corner site you're working on right now, the one you're putting so much time, money, and energy into, could actually be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars more, maybe even $1 million more? And what if I also told you that unlocking that extra value doesn't come from some sort of complex trick? It comes down to just one simple decision. Do you build 2 townhouses or do you build 3? In this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact framework I use to answer that question. And by the end, you'll have a 7-point checklist that you can run through on any corner site before you buy. A checklist that can literally save or make you 6 or 7 figures on your next project. So let's actually talk about the pros and cons of corner sites, because they can be a little sneaky. On the surface, the pros look amazing. You've got 2 street frontages, right? Which straight away gives you more flexibility when it comes to design. You don't need to worry about a shared driveway, which buyers usually hate. And the street appeal is almost always stronger. Every home feels like it's its own standalone property. So at first glance, it's easy to think this is free money. I can just squeeze in an extra townhouse and go for 3 and cash in. But here's the thing, the cons are just as real. Every townhouse needs its own crossover. That's the strip of concrete across the nature strip that actually connects your driveway to the road. And that's where corner sites can start to get a little tricky, because when you walk the block, you realize the frontage isn't just a blank canvas. So it's not always possible. You have immovable things in the way, such as big trees that can't be removed, power poles that cost a fortune to relocate, drainage pits, fire hydrants, NBN boxes, even a bus stop or speed humps may be right out the front. Some of those you can move if you're happy to spend the money, others you aren't allowed to. And if you can't safely fit 3 crossovers, your dream of squeezing that extra townhouse onto the site ends right there. That's why I always say, the first test with a corner site isn't sketching what you want to build, it's just walking the frontages with a critical eye. Because if achieving the 3rd crossover doesn't work, nothing else matters. If you can get past the crossover test, the next thing you need to be considering is the design, specifically the orientation of the site as it relates to sunlight, its shape, and the planning rules, all of which will affect what is possible. Let's first talk about sunlight. In Australia, north light is what buyers are looking for in their living areas. You can't underestimate the benefit of waking up in the morning to beautiful sunlight shining into your main living areas. If you push to 3 townhouses, does that end up forcing one or more of the homes into darkness with south-facing living zones? If so, you might be able to get 3 townhouses legally, but you'll cost yourself a lot when it comes time to selling. No one wants to live in dark if they don't have to, and buyers are getting much, much smarter. They will look for and pay a premium for north-facing living zones where they get the benefit of that sun all year round. Next, you need to look at the block shape. As a rule, wide and shallow sites can typically handle 3 townhouses, while narrow and deeper blocks usually favour 2 larger homes with decent backyards. At this point, when I'm doing due diligence on a corner site, I like to do a quick sketch on a pad to see how it looks and fits. I'll draw the footprint of 2 townhouses roughly to scale. Then I'll do the same with 3 townhouses and ask myself simple questions like, at this size, can real furniture fit? Can people move around the rooms? Or will it be too tight? Because remember, if your designs don't work in real life, it will cost you big when it comes time to sell or rent the townhouses, whatever your end plan might be. Now we need to talk about town planning rules, because they do matter and they will affect what can or should be built. In Victoria, where we're based, recent res code changes put a cap on front setbacks at 6 metres. And they relax the side and rear setbacks. This essentially means the upstairs footprint can potentially line up with the downstairs footprint, which ultimately gives you more usable area, more amenity in your design. Sometimes that can be the difference between fitting 2 or fitting 3, or even fitting 4 townhouses in some circumstance. So it's always important to check your exact residential zone and planning overlay requirements with a town planner. And don't forget the hidden costs almost all first-time developers miss, the open space contribution. This is the money you need to pay to council the second you move from 3 townhouses or more on any development site. In most cases, councils will typically charge around 5% of the land value. On a $1.8 million block, that's about $90,000. It may not be project killing, but it can tilt you back to building 2 townhouses instead of 3. And if it feels like this is a lot to take in, which would be fair, that's exactly why we built the Little Fish Network. It's our free property development community with thousands of everyday developers already inside. You can ask questions, share your projects, and see how others are tackling the exact same challenges. It's free forever, takes 2 minutes to join. I'll drop the link below. All right, suppose you can get the 3 crossovers. The orientation of the site suggests that you'll have nice sunlight hitting those living zones, and you tick all the town planning requirements. The next thing you need to do is to run your numbers, what they might look like if you go with 2 versus 3 townhouses. Here's how a typical corner site might play out numbers-wise. Let's say you pick up a block for about 1.6 million. If you build 2 larger homes, you're probably in for around 1.7 million on the build. If you push it to 3 smaller homes, that build cost probably jumps to around $2 million. And then the council clips you for another 80 grand for your open space contribution. Now, think about the sales side. 2 bigger homes in a good suburb might fetch $2.1 million each. So that's $4.2 million all up. If you go for 3 smaller ones, those resale values might sit around $1.6 million apiece. So you're closer to $4.8 million in total sales. That's known in property development game as GRV, gross realization value. So when you run the rough numbers, 2 homes leaves you with about $900,000 in margin before you add all the other costs. 3 gets you to around $1.12 million before you add in all the other costs. But remember, you've now got to sell 3 homes instead of 2. That needs to be taken into consideration also. Remember, these are rough numbers, but you can see where I'm going. And here's the thing, even those numbers don't tell the whole story. In some suburbs, buyers will pay a premium for bigger homes with larger spaces. So the 2-home play might actually win. So you need to talk to local agents, get a feel for what the market actually wants, and look at the sale prices of townhouses similar to the ones you're planning to build. In other areas, it's the more affordable stock that might work best. So cheaper townhouses that sell quicker. And that's when 3 gets the edge because of the low sale price. Okay, now it's time to bring it all together with this 7-point corner site checklist I promised earlier that you can run through on any corner site before you buy. 1 is access. If you can't get the 3 crossovers in, nothing else matters. 2 is the orientation. Are your living zones actually going to get the northern light, or will the buyers need to be happy living in the dark? 3 is the shape of your block. Does it naturally lend itself to 2 larger homes on a narrow and deeper block, or can it comfortably take 3 smaller ones on a typically wide and shallow block? 4 is the design. You need to sketch it out and ask yourself, can furniture fit? Can people move around? Or does it just feel too tight? Number 5 is planning. Know your setbacks, height, and planning overlay restrictions because they'll dictate what's actually possible. 6 is the hidden costs. Remember, the second you go over 3 or more townhouses on any block, that's not just a corner block, any site, councils will clip you for the open space contribution. And you might be up for moving drainage pits, even a power pole that is in the way of where you need your new crossovers. 7 is the market. Talk to local agents, get a feel for what buyers in that suburb actually want. And look at the sale prices of townhouses similar to the ones you're planning to build. That way, you're not just running the numbers on paper, you're grounding them in reality. So remember, corner sites can be an incredible investment for townhouse developers, but it doesn't always automatically mean building 3 is the right play. You've got to check access, sunlight, planning rules, and consider the market. Sometimes 3 is the winner. Other times 2 is the smarter and safer play. And if you'd like more support, that's actually why we built the Little Fish Network. It's our free property development community with thousands of developers already inside. It's free forever, takes 2 minutes to join, and the link's in the description. Or if you'd rather have my team and I handle the project from start to finish, there's a link in the description for that too, where you can book a call with me directly anytime. We'll talk about your site, your goals, and what's possible. If you got value from this video, do me a favor, hit the hype, smash the like button and subscribe button. It really helps us reach more people and keep sharing this content for free. I'm Peter Kelly. Appreciate you sticking around to the end. Until the next one, see you at the top.